Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a review. Grizzly Bear, Shields, Count to Chesta. Bang bang! Grizzly Bear is a New York band consisting of Chris Taylor, Christopher Bear, Daniel Rossen, and Ed Droste. And it's kind of weird for me to think it's been like 6 years since I first heard of these guys, thanks to the release of one of my favorite indie psychedelic folk records ever, Yellow House. It's an album that is very pleasant and gentle on the ears, but is extremely bold in its vastness and very complex Baroque instrumentation. There are plenty of experimental and progressive song structures all over this LP too. And it's also important to note that this LP kind of comes with the addition of 2 members. Beforehand, Grizzly Bear was pretty much Ed and Christopher Bear on drums. But together, Ed and Daniel made a really fantastic songwriting team on this LP. Just one great tune after another with Lullaby and Central and Remote, Knife and Little Brother, which there is an amazing electric version of on the Friend EP. And between Yellow House and the Friend EP, what those, albums or releases were kind of forecasting, I thought Grizzly Bear would definitely be a favorite band of mine for years and years to come. But then they put out their next full-length album, Veckatimest, and while that LP did bring them a lot more fans, gain a lot more attention for them, it wasn't really a love at first listen for me. There's some really strong singles on this LP for sure. Some of the catchiest songs of 2009, like the bright piano chord smashing track 2 Weeks. Even though it was catchier, even though it was a bit more straightforward, and that I'm sure, made it appeal to a lot of people, I, for one, was missing the kind of excessive instrumentation, the heavy interludes, the massive crescendos. There were still some subtle and refined tracks on there like Dory, and I do like the album. For me, it just really kind of felt like a step in a direction that I wouldn't really care for if I felt Grizzly Bear went into that direction any further. Now, we have Grizzly Bear's latest LP, their 4th full-length LP, Shields, and they teased toward the release of this album by first releasing the track Sleeping Ute, which was pretty quiet for a single and brought back that kind of multi-phase progressive songwriting that I loved hearing Grizzly Bear partake in. For me, it kind of signaled a return back in that direction, and I did kind of get that on this album, but only to an extent. And I'm going to be completely straightforward with this. I feel like personally I got that only to the extent that the end product that we have here with Shields is kind of a middle-of-the-road record for Grizzly Bear. To kind of measure things up to Veckatimest a little bit, there's not a single track on here that is as joyfully infectious as any number of tracks on that album, especially 2 Weeks. So while things are not really that poppy or catchy on this album, except for a few moments, maybe Yet Again being an example of that, but still not really kind of a climactic poppiness or just an explosive poppiness on that track, maybe more of a subtle poppiness. To continue, the band has also not tried to approach the same level of lavishness and detailed orchestration that I know they're capable of, thanks to the choir version of Alligator off of that Friend EP I mentioned. I just kind of feel like overall on this record I'm getting less finesse, less detail, and less volume as well. The strongest tracks on this LP, in my opinion, are the ones that were released beforehand. Sleeping Ute is a great tune. Like I said, goes back to that more progressive structure. Grizzly Bear kind of brings a surprise into the mix with these psychedelic arpeggiating synthesizers and a really strong explosive hook. And the track Yet Again has a really nice groove to it. I love the very huge, gargantuan, just grandly strummed guitar chords, just kind of cascading all over the mix. And the ending is something kind of different or interesting for Grizzly Bear. I mean, it's just a really loud, noisy, chaotic freak out. The rest of the songs on here, for the most part, I feel like they're likable, but are also kind of mild, like the track The Hunt, a quiet song kind of subtle song. There is instrumentation kind of hanging in the background on the track, and the hook is very painful, cuts like a knife, but the verse melody coming from the vocals is just dull, dull, dull. And A Simple Answer has got to be my least favorite track on this LP. It's just loaded with these very ham-fisted piano chords thumping throughout the track that just have no grace to them whatsoever. It's kind of like if you could imagine a morbidly obese ballerina stumbling onto stage in front of an audience of thousands. Also, this track is one of the longest on the album, and one of the most needlessly repetitive songs that Grizzly Bear has ever written. The track Gunshy also lacks an interesting approach. It's just way too straightforward, way too surface, but at least that song is definitely more sweet on the ears, and I could see that growing on me for sure. Right after that, the song Halfgate kind of brings those strings that I wish came in on Gunshy, but they're just applied so lazily on this track. The strings are just piled onto this track like dirt from the grave that these guys are digging for their old sound, apparently. The closer, Sun in Your Eyes, is the only other track on this LP that I really kind of felt love for. It's a very climactic finish, and it's multi-phase, very progressive, just like the song that kind of kicked things off. I kind of love how you had that moment of quiet as the song comes to an end, the piano's there, and then the ending kind of builds up into this very synthesizer-heavy crescendo. The vocal harmonies are wonderful. And even though that moment of enjoyment is there, as I finish the album, I still kind of leave this thing being a little underwhelmed. I will say, for the most part, the songwriting is there, and for sure, the recording quality is there. Everything sounds good, but there's just not that level of ambition and detail and instrumentation that I've come to expect and enjoy from Grizzly Bear. I still did like this. I liked a majority of tracks on this, but I think this is easily Grizzly Bear's spottiest release so far. But what do you guys think of it? Let me know. Kind of feeling a decent to strong 6 on this thing. What did you guys think of it if you've given it a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? What should I review next? And Anthony Fantano, Grizzly Bear, only the strong subscribe forever.